Welcome to Debt Brief. I want to teach you today about what I, as a debt collection attorney, do when I get contacted by debt collectors. Now, a lot of people think that people that are being hounded by debt collectors are deadbeats or poor people or people that don't have a job, but that's not true. Debt collectors can go after all kinds of people for lots of different reasons. And in my case, I had a debt collector come after me because the person I owed money to never actually sent me a bill, never told me that I owed them money. So a while back, I ended up with a torn meniscus and I ended up having to go in for surgery. And anyone that's had surgery knows that after your surgery, the medical bills just start pouring in, and you end up having to pay your surgeon, your doctor, your anesthesiologist, the surgical center, the hospital, physical therapist, on and on and on. So I'm getting all of these different bills. What I didn't get was a bill from the anesthesiologist. I never got it. So I was paying my bills, all of my medical bills, as they were coming in. And then what happened is I started getting contacted by a debt collector. I started getting letters in the mail at first saying you owe this debt, and I'm looking at these going, I don't think I owe anything because I have paid every bill that has come in the mail. After getting a few of these letters though, I reached out to the debt collector and I said, hey, I don't think I owe this. I have paid every bill that I have received. What the debt collector said to me, or the person that I was talking to that worked for the debt collector, they said, well, you're going to have to prove that you have paid this debt already. Now, this is where I think a lot of people get into trouble. And what I knew was that was a lie. I did not have to prove that I had already paid that debt. There's something called the burden of proof. And if they were to sue me in court, the burden of proof would be on them, the plaintiff, the person who filed the lawsuit, to prove that what they're saying is true. What they were saying is, I hadn't paid the debt. There's another law that requires a debt collector to verify the debt if you request that they do so. So what I did is I said, actually, you know what? I know that you're lying to me right now. I don't have the duty to prove that I have paid the debt. You actually have the duty to prove to me that I owe it, and you haven't done it yet. At that point, she got kind of sheepish and admitted that, okay, we will verify the debt. So a couple weeks go by. I actually in the mail then did get something from them that showed records from the anesthesiologist showing the bill, which I had never received. And it showed some other records that showed that they did provide the services. Now, I knew they had provided the services. I knew that I owed the money. I knew that I'd signed a contract when I went in for surgery saying that I would pay those amounts. So at this point, I had a decision to make. I needed to evaluate the bill, what the debt collector was saying and what I knew, and determine, is this something I want to fight or is this something that I need to resolve? I knew at that point I had to pay the debt. I really didn't have any good defenses. It was going to make more sense now to pay this than it was to fight it. So, that's the number one takeaway here, is that you need to ask your debt collectors to verify your debts when they're contacting you. The number two thing is you always need to be evaluating. Obviously, nobody wants to pay their bills, and if they can get out of them, that would be great for them. But you always need to be evaluating whether you should be continuing to fight. Costs can increase, interest, attorney's fees, costs, all of these things can be added onto a bill and make the debt even higher. So at this point, I'm saying, okay, I do owe this bill. They just hadn't sent it to me before, so that's why I hadn't paid it, but I need to pay it now. So what I do next is I go to their website and I enter my account information in there, and the bill pops up and I put in my credit card information, and then it wants me to pay a processing fee to the debt collector. Now, this is the third takeaway, and that is, don't pay these processing fees. It's just a cheap add-on that these debt collectors do to make additional money, and there's no reason why you should have to pay these processing fees. So instead, what you should do in this case is, if the website will let you pay the amount without the processing fee, you should do that. If it will not let you pay that amount, you should call the debt collector and give them a credit card over the phone, or you should send them in a check for the original amount of the debt, but not including the processing fees. The caveat to that is, if your original agreement with the original creditor requires you to pay such a processing fee, then you probably do need to pay that. But I knew, in my case, that my contract with the anesthesiologist did not include any requirement to pay a processing fee if I had to pay the bill to a debt collector. So, at this point, the debt collector's got several options. The processing fee is probably small enough that it doesn't make sense for them to continue to chase down that processing fee from you. Instead, what they're going to do is probably just let it go. They've got the original amount back. That's probably sufficient for them. But then you might say, well, what if they do sue me? What if they do sue me over this processing fee? You don't really care if they sue you over the processing fee because that is a case you can win. Here's why. Debt collection cases are really what lawyers call contract cases or breach of contract cases. Now, I had a contract with the anesthesiologist to provide those medical services to me. What I knew was that I was going to have to pay for those services, but what I also knew was that there was nothing in our contract that I had to pay a processing fee. So I'm not going to pay the processing fee, and when I get to court, I'm going to tell the judge, hey, I paid the amount of my debt, I had a contract to pay the amount of that debt, and I fulfilled my end of the bargain. There's nothing in this contract language that requires me to pay a processing fee. So I'm not going to pay it, and I don't think I'm obligated to pay it. And the judge, if he's going to look at that contract and he's going to say, does it say anywhere in this contract that they have to pay a processing fee? If it does not, you're going to most likely win your debt collection case. So, takeaways, again, if a debt collector contacts you, always make sure that they verify the debt. It's not your responsibility to verify it, it's theirs. Takeaway number 2, you always need to be evaluating your debts and determine, does it make sense to continue to fight this, or does it make sense to just pay this now? And number 3 is that you should avoid paying processing fees unless your contract with the original creditor requires you to pay such processing fees. You should feel perfectly comfortable going to court and fighting those processing fees if you have paid the remainder of the outstanding debt. Hopefully this information was helpful to you. If it was, give me a like, share, and subscribe, and check out the description below for more information on ways that I can help you with your debt.